Alright, so this is my NBA playoff recaps from April 19th until April 23rd. Basically every game 1 and game 2 from the first round. We're going to try to do these after every 2 games in this series. Sometimes we're going to be a little bit off on some series because not every series is going to be, on the same timeline. But getting started here, we're going to have the Cavs and the Heat. So the Cavs, are up 2-0 right now. They won game 1. 121-100, and then won game 2, 121-112. So same amount of points for the Cavs in both games. Miami definitely did a little bit better in game 2, keeping it close. But game 1, it was a 21-point game, but ultimately it was a single-digit game going into that fourth quarter. It was an 8-point game going into the fourth quarter. So Miami was very much in both of these games. They just needed a little bit better at closing out. And Cleveland's a hard team to beat, obviously. They've been one of the best teams in the league all season long. In game 1, Cleveland shot 41% from 3. So did Miami, though. So, they're both pretty good offensively. The thing that killed Miami in game 1, they had 14 turnovers to Cleveland 7. That's obviously not great. Also, they let Ty Jerome put up 28 points off the bench. That's going to be a little bit of an issue if that continues to happen for Cleveland. For Miami, in game 2 was a lot better, right? They only lost by 9 as opposed to 21. They did shoot a little bit worse offensively, only 35% from 3, which is still solid though. But the thing that killed them is the Cavs shot 48% from 3. They were 22 of 45. So whenever a team puts up 22 threes on you, it's going to be very, very hard to win, as well as when you have 5 more turnovers than the other team, which Miami did again in this game. Miami has been struggling in the turnover battle in both these games, which has played a big part of why they're losing. Also, Cleveland's just been very, very efficient offensively. Tyler Hero was really good in game 2, had 33 points. Bam Adebayo, Davion Mitchell have been solid in this series. They just have not been able to stop Cleveland defensively. Donovan Mitchell has 30 points in both games. Darius Garland's had 20 plus both times. Evan Mobley had 20 plus in game 2. So they have a lot of Miami has a lot of guys that need to stop. Defensively, they just have not been able to do that, and offensively, they have not been able to keep those turnover numbers down. My original pick was the Cavs in 5, and so far I'm probably going to be sticking with that. I think Miami could still get 1 game here, but they're not going to get any more than that. Next up is the Celtics and the Magic. So similar story here, right? Whereas game 1 was kind of a blowout, and then game 2 was a lot closer. But again, in game 1, it was a very close game in the entire first half. Orlando was actually up by 1 point at halftime, and then Boston just absolutely dominated the second half. So a really good first half from Orlando in game 1 again, but again, the rest of that game, not so much. Offensively, they were fine. Boston did shoot a little bit better from them from 3. They shot 43% to Orlando's 37. And another big part of this game was the turnovers. Orlando had 15 turnovers to Boston's 9. They got to get those turnover numbers down if they want a chance to win this series. Paolo Banchero was amazing, 36 points. Franz Wagner had 23. But for Boston, they had 4 guys in double digits. They let Derek White put up 30. Peyton Pritchard put up 19 off the bench. They held their stars, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, both to under 20 points. But they let Derek White and Peyton Pritchard go off, which is obviously not ideal. In game 2 from Orlando, again, it was a lot closer of a game here, but Orlando was actually really bad offensively. So they shot 24% from 3s in this game. That's not very good. Boston did shoot a lot worse as well. They only shot 32% from 3, but still, Orlando has to do better themselves offensively. And again, the turnover battle was a lot better in this game for Orlando. They only had 7 turnovers to Boston's 10. Right? The reason they lost this game was because they shot atrocious from the 3-point line. So going forward, Orlando is going to have to do a lot better job of knocking down 3s and keeping their turnovers down in the same game, which has not happened through 2 games so far. Also, one thing to note, Jason Tatum's wrist injury definitely led to game 2 being closer than game 1. And we're not really sure what the severity of that is going forward. So Jason Tatum very well could be missing another game or 2, or even the rest of this series potentially, which definitely gives the Magic a little bit of an advantage. But it still was not enough of an advantage in game 2 for Orlando to win this game. So I'm going to be sticking with the original prediction of Boston Celtics in 5 games. Again, I think Orlando could get 1, but they're not going to get any more than that. Next up was the Pistons and Knicks series. This was a 1-1 series. New York won the first game by 11 points, but they were actually losing going into the fourth quarter. They were down by 8 points going into this fourth quarter, and they just absolutely dominated, going plus 19 in that fourth quarter. They had a 21-0 run at a point in that quarter. So pretty bad collapse from Detroit in game one. Led to New York getting the early advantage. Both teams are really good offensively in game one. That's not really an issue here. The one thing to note, Detroit had 19 turnovers to New York's 9. Again, the turnover battle was the difference maker in this game. Detroit, had 3 guys score 20 plus, another guy, Tim Hardaway, getting 19. So offensively, I'm not really worried about them. Just their turnovers they need to worry about. The Knicks, they had 3 guys at 20 plus. Jalen Brunson had 34 points. They got a lot of guys that Detroit has to guard, and Detroit did not do a very good job of that in game one. But game two was a lot better for Detroit. They held them to almost 30 points less than they had in game one. Obviously, pretty good. Both teams were pretty bad at the three-point line. Detroit only 22% and New York only 28%, but Detroit definitely knocked down those turnovers a little bit. They went from 19 down to 15, and New York went from 9 turnovers up to 14. So the turnover battle was pretty split even this game, which obviously helped Detroit a lot compared to game one. Again, looking at the box score here, Cade Cunningham, 33 points. Dennis Schroeder actually put up 20 points off the bench. Very, very good there. And for the Knicks, Jalen Brunson went off once again. But besides that, he didn't have a whole lot of help. Karl-Anthony Towns only shot the ball 11 times and had 10 points. Karl-Anthony Towns needs to be more aggressive. He should be getting, 20 points a game in this series if New York wants to win. But our original pick was the Knicks in 5. I'm pretty hesitant to stray away from that because it has only been 2 games, but it's kind of very hard not to see Detroit winning at least one more game in this series. Now, next up is the Bucks and the Pacers. So the Pacers are up 2-0, right? Game 1 was kind of a blowout. They won by 19 points. It was not really close throughout the majority of this game. They were up, almost 20 or over 20 at halftime, and then Milwaukee made it a little bit closer towards the end. But again, Indiana pulled away and ended up winning by 19 points. Offensively, Indiana was great, 51% from the field and 38% from 3, while Milwaukee was very bad, 41% from the field and 24% from 3. Just nothing you could do about that. Game 1 was going in Indiana's favor in every single way. Milwaukee also had double the turnovers that Indiana had. Now looking at game 2, a lot closer for Milwaukee. They obviously got Damian Lillard back, which helped them quite a bit offensively. They ended up shooting 40% from 3 and 50% from the field, but Indiana was once again amazing offensively, 48% from the field and 44% from 3. Milwaukee's going to have to do a little bit better job of defending the three-point ball for Indiana if they want a chance to win this series. Again, Milwaukee had almost double the turnovers that Indiana had in this game, which 7 more turnovers very much makes an 8-point game difference. So Milwaukee needs to get their turnovers down and then stop Indiana from 3 if they want a chance of winning this series. Look at the box score in game 2. Giannis was amazing. Bobby Portis was really good. Damian Lillard wasn't great. It was his first game back in over a month. He only shot 31% from the field. But that's kind of what you expected. Looking at Indiana, they had 6 different guys get double digits. Pascal and Tyrese both 20 plus. They just have too many guys offensively that are able to go out and get you buckets efficiently. And Milwaukee definitely has trouble guarding that. Now, looking at the Western Conference between the Grizzlies and the Thunder. Thunder are up 2-0. In game 1, not much to talk about. OKC won by 51 points. Memphis shot 17% from 3. That is atrocious. 34% from the field. That is atrocious. So they were just really, really bad. And they also had 22 turnovers in that game. Not going to talk about the box score too much because it's really not that important. Looking at game 2, was a lot closer for Memphis, but they still lost by 20 points. This game was really never close. OKC was up 15 points at halftime, 15 points at the end of the first quarter, and up 18 points at halftime. Memphis did make it a single-digit game, I think, at the beginning of that fourth quarter, but OKC once again pulled ahead pretty easily. So, box score a lot better for Memphis. Both teams shot pretty much the same efficiency-wise, but Memphis still had 14 turnovers to OKC's 7. That's a big, big issue. They did have 5 guys in double digits. Jaren Jackson with 26, Ja with 23. So offensively, again, they were a lot better. Just defensively, they could not stop OKC. OKC had 3 different guys with 20-plus points, being Chet, Jalen Williams, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Chet Holmgren also had 5 blocks in this game, which was obviously a very, very good defensive impact that the Grizzlies could not overcome. Next up is the Warriors and Rockets, which is a 1-1 series right now. This is one of the best series of the entire postseason right now, easily. Golden State won Game 1 by 10 points. Looking at the efficiency-wise, Houston was just atrocious. They shot 39% from the field and 20% from 3. Very, very big reason as to why, they only scored 85 points in this game, and scoring 85 points, you're not going to win very many games. Looking at the box score for them, Alperen Sengun was the only guy that did good, right? Jalen Green was 3 of 15. Fred VanVleet was 4 of 19, right? You can't have those guys, shoot that many shots that inefficiently and expect to win the game. For Golden State, Stephen Curry had 30 points. Jimmy Butler was 25. Their stars were balling. Now in Game 2, it was kind of a different story. Jimmy Butler got injured early in the first quarter and did not return. Similar story with Brandon Podziemski. I think he did end up coming back in this game, but he only played 14 minutes. He was out for a good amount of time. So with Brandon Podziemski having limited minutes and Jimmy Butler playing only 7 minutes in this game, Houston was easily a lot better offensively, while Golden State was pretty much the same looking at their points, right? Houston shot 37% from 3, obvious upgrade from Game 1. Also, Golden State had 5 more turnovers in Houston, a big reason as to why they won. Houston, Jalen Green was amazing, 38 points, so he bounced back significantly after Game 1. Fred VanVleet once again was really bad though, only 2 of 8 shooting. They really need to get both those guys going in the same game if they want a chance to win this series. But also, looking at the Jimmy Butler injury, if he misses, a couple games here, right, that could easily open the door for Houston to go out, steal a couple games in Golden State, and then come back home with a 3-1 lead, and then I don't expect them, to blow a 3-1 lead. Next up here, we got the Lakers and the Timberwolves. So this is tied, a 1-1 series right now. Minnesota won Game 1 by 22 points. They were pretty much dominating the entire game. They were up, 11 points at halftime, and just dominated the second half as well. Lakers started off the game good, being up 7 after the first quarter, but again, right after that, it was just bad. Lakers shot 39% from the field this game. Minnesota shot 50% from 3. So when another team shoots 50% from 3 on you on 42 attempts, it's going to be really hard to win the game, and that's exactly what we saw from the Lakers. Looking at the box score, Minnesota had 3 guys with 20-plus points. Julius Randle chipped in with 16 as well, and the Lakers only had 1 guy score over 20, being Luka Doncic. LeBron James had 19 points. Austin Reeves had 16. They were fine, but they were not a difference maker here offensively, which the Lakers definitely need more performances like Luka Doncic if they want to win this series. In Game 2, we saw better offensive performance from the Lakers, even though they scored 1 less point. They were much better, shooting 45% from the field as opposed to 39%, but the 3-point percentage was really, really bad at only 20%. Luckily, Minnesota's was just as bad at 20% as well. So Minnesota shot 50% in Game 1 and then 20% in Game 2 from 3. So obviously, really, really good for the Lakers that they shot bad, but for Minnesota, if they can just shoot somewhere in the middle, at 35 to 40%, this is going to be a really, really good series. Looking at the box score in Game 2, Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle had 52 of the points for Minnesota. They need a lot more help out of those top 2 guys. For the Lakers, Luka had 31, LeBron had 21, and Austin Reeves once again had 16. So Luka is balling out, and LeBron James is getting close to 20, and then Austin Reeves, as long as he's getting that 16 a game, you're not really upset or worried about the Lakers offensively. It's just defensively, can they guard Minnesota? Game 1, they did not. Game 2, they did. So my original pick was Lakers in 6. I'm going to be rolling with that. Next up is the Clippers and Nuggets. So this was a really fun. Both these games were really, really fun. Both games were decided by 1 possession. Game 1, of course, did go into overtime with Denver winning by 2 points. One thing to note, it was tied 98-98 going into overtime, and Los Angeles was up 15 points in this game at one point. So Denver had a 15-point comeback to force overtime, and then it obviously ended up winning the game in overtime. Offensively, both of these teams, they were fine. LA was more efficient, shooting 50% from the field to Denver's 43. but the turnovers for LA really hindered them. They have 20 turnovers to Denver's 11. So turnover battle has been a thing I've been harping on almost every single series. It's very real, right? Losing the turnover battle by a significant margin very much makes a difference in a 2-point overtime game. Box score here for the Clippers. They had 3 guys score 20 plus. James Harden was in the 30s. Offensively, we're not worried about it. Denver Nuggets, Jokic was amazing. Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon both had 20 plus as well. So again, offensively, we're not really worried about either of these teams through one game. It was just the Clippers having way too many turnovers that lost them this game. Game 2 was a very similar story. Efficiency-wise for both of these teams. Denver shot a little bit better from 3 at 43% to the Clippers 38%. But the turnover battle, once again, was the deciding factor. They kind of flipped the script exactly from Game 1. Game 1, Clippers had 20 turnovers to Denver's 11. Game 2, Denver had 20 turnovers to the Clippers 11. So, again, a difference of 9 turnovers in this game easily makes a 3-point difference. So, going forward in this series, it's pretty much going to be whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win the game. That's what we've seen through 2 games. Kawhi Leonard in Game 2 was amazing with 39 points. Jokic was amazing again with a triple-double. Again, offensively, I'm not really worried about either of these teams. They've looked pretty good through 2 games. It's just the turnovers that are going to be the deciding factor in this series. With that said, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check back next week-ish for an updated playoff recap, and goodbye.